Okay, good morning, everyone. Let's just test the sound there. Right. So it's great to see so many new faces. I do recognize quite a few of you. So welcome to the MYP. Just a quick show of hands, if you don't mind. Who currently has a child in the MYP already? And who has a child in grade 5? That's good. You're in the right place. Who is new to Raha? Excellent. Welcome, all of you. So, basically, that's me, Vaughan Kitson, and the MYP, grade 6 to 10, is my area, specifically curriculum. So, what I'd like to just start off by saying is, although the PYP and the MYP are both exceptionally well-written and successful programs, it has been sort of the general consensus amongst many professionals that they were perhaps written by people on different planets, because it's taken us 6 to 7 years to come up with a strategy of improving the transition from grade 5 to grade 6 to make things smoother, easier, more understandable, etc. for the students, because they are two very, very different programs with overriding similarities, but we'll get into more of the details there. There will be a bit of information overload today, so let's just quickly have a look. I keep running away from my clicker. Let's have a look at the agenda. So what I'll be talking about is basically the middle years program, the curriculum mainly, and a little bit about the philosophy. After that, the big changes, things to expect for your child, advice, support systems, points of contact, and then we'll have time for questions at the end, hopefully. So I won't be talking the whole time. We'll have the heads of grade, and perhaps there might be a guest presentation. You never know. Now, when I'm involved in presentations, often there seems to be a general trend, which is a quiz. So if you wouldn't mind getting onto the website join.quizzes.com, and we'll do a quick diagnostic. That's just a bit of fun. Yes? Yeah, you'll have the PowerPoint presentation as well as the actual video. This is being videoed as well. We'll put it on the school YouTube channel. Okay, I'll talk you through this. So when you're in join.quizzes.com, that's basically the game code to enter. And we generally have a theme when we do this with the students, and the theme today can be animals. So choose any animal you'd like to be instead of putting your name. So at the bottom of the screen, there's a little circle which you click, and that should take you to the place to enter the number and your name, or an animal. Welcome, Tim. Feel free to work with someone as well. You don't have to do this by yourself. All those exam nerves coming back. It's been a few years for some of you, I'm sure. Okay, if you're not in, don't worry. I'll just give it 5 more seconds. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Okay, don't worry if you didn't get in. We are going to take up the questions, so you'll see what was asked. Okay, so for those keen people that finished already, this gives you a snapshot into our lives. Okay, not everyone works at the same speed, follows instructions at the same speed, etc. It's always nice watching the little competitive juices flow, especially in the teachers who are trying to win this particular quiz. So we'll give it another 45 seconds or so, then we'll go through the answers. So if you didn't finish, please don't worry. Okay. What do I do? Yes. Okay. Okay, I did want to go through the answers, but because I ended early, it doesn't seem to want to let me. So let's just, right. So in this format, we'll go through it quickly. There's a much nicer format, actually. So in 1968, the IB was founded, and 1994, the MYP was founded in some sort of capacity. It wasn't fully up and running until the late 90s. A unit of study in the MYP is generally based on a concept within a given global context, which we'll talk about a bit more. The MYP is a written curriculum. That's obviously false. Okay, we draw from different curricula around the world to design our own curriculum and obviously prepare students for the DP. So a lot of it is backward planning from grade 11, 12 backwards. Global context, we'll talk about a bit more. There are 6 global contexts, and they relate to the PYP's units of inquiry. In the here we go, 4 assessment criteria. IDU is interdisciplinary unit. Inquiry questions. Every unit in the MYP is built around questions for the students. Some are called conceptual, some are factual, and then you get debatable questions as well. In fact, a lot of them are debatable questions. All right, question 9 is the personal project is the culminating piece of work which the grade 10s do. And finally, there are 8 subject groups in the MYP. So thanks for letting me put you through that. Hopefully we warmed up. So at the heart of the 3 IB programs, as I'm sure you've come across many times on pictures around the place, websites, discussions, is what we call the IB learner profile, which are 10 attributes which all IB students strive to achieve, become, demonstrate throughout the time in an IB school. Right, now I mean, the whole point of this session is really transition from grade 5 to grade 6. So I'm not going to spend ages on grade 9, 10 stuff. We're going to focus mainly on the transitional area, which is remembering that your child has been working through all knowledge and skills, conceptual understanding through transdisciplinary themes called units of inquiry in the PYP. And basically this changes somewhat in the MYP, where there are 9 subjects, specific subjects, from 8 subject groups. I've said 9 because students do 2 from the languages acquisition group, which I'll talk about more in a moment. The transdisciplinary themes are mapped onto what we call the 6 global contexts as follows. So I'll just leave that up there for a sec. Please remember, you will have access to this video as well as the slides. So I'm going to go quite quickly. But you, in your own time, you can go through all this again, and you will need to. You're not all sponges. There's a lot of info today. So that's the PYP diagram. I'm ignoring that at the moment. We are focusing in on your new life in the MYP. So when I talk about 8 subject groups, these are the 8 subject groups here. Starting language and literature, which would be English, A, we call it. Well, we don't call it, but it's English, A. It's Arabic, A, for the Arabic first language speakers. So Arabic A students do 2 subjects from that group. Arabic B students do 1 subject from that group. Then we have individuals and societies, also more commonly known as humanities, so geography, history, psychology, economics, that sort of thing. Mathematics, design, arts, sciences, PHE, or PE as some of you would know, and then language acquisition, which would be your Arabic B, French, and Spanish. So you've gone from transdisciplinary, and we've got some grade 5 teachers here. They will know that they take a theme and they weave all the subjects around or within that particular theme, whereas we are more multidisciplinary in the MYP. Now, one thing we managed to develop this year, at the start of the year, is quite a useful document for you, which is the curriculum guide. And there's one for grade 6, grade 7, grade 8, grade 9, grade 10. These are all available on the ISAM's parent portal or the parent app. If you have any questions about accessing those, we will answer those later. This is just a quick snapshot of what it looks like. I'm not going through the entire document with you, but there is a table of contents. You just click on the link and it'll take you to, if you want information about a particular subject, unit in the subject, but also in the introduction section, there is a whole bunch of information for you, almost like a quick little reference tool. So it talks about the global context, the key concepts, ATL skills, which I will talk about in a moment, and also a snapshot on assessment. So before we talk about assessment, because that's always an important, a lot of important questions will come up, we have a short video which summarizes the way assessment, the assessment philosophy occurs in the MYP. Mr. Ivan? quick snapshot. In terms of the, the actual numerical values we use, it's quite easy to understand. Basically, each subject is assessed in 4 different criteria, A, B, C, D. Each criterion carries a maximum score of 8, so 8 times 4 is a maximum score of 32 for each subject, which then translates into a final grade from 1 to 7. I'll just leave that there for a few seconds, digest it. So this is in the curriculum guides as well, as a quick reference. At the bottom here we have the conversions. So if a student scores 28 or above out of 32, they get a 7. And then 24, 27 is a 6, etc. One thing I need to refer to here is the best fit score. So during a course, during a reporting period, let's say up to semester 1, a student might do, in math, you might do 3 A's, 2 B's, 2 C's, and a D, or 2 D's, whatever the case may be. It's not a case of simply adding up the A's and averaging them, adding up the B's and averaging them. It doesn't work like that in MYP. Sometimes it might seem like it works like that, simply because there might have been a 4 and a 6, so they get a 5 because it seems to be the best fit. However, it's not always that simple, and teachers take into account circumstances of the students, they take into account the nature of the assessment, everything really, and we come up with what we call the best fit, which is the fairest way and hopefully the most accurate way of getting a good picture of the student. Averaging is good in some situations, but it's certainly not one of anything that's part of the MYP philosophy. In terms of the names of the assessment criteria, your children will come across quite a few different names. I suppose one of the easy aspects is that a number of the criterion A's are all called knowing and understanding. Well, in fact, 5 of them out of the 8. But then there's a whole bunch of different names depending on the nature of the subject, and that will all become clear. At the bottom here we have 9 and 10. Number 9 is your MYP projects. We do the personal project in grade 10, and that involves investigating, planning, taking action, and reflecting. Involves creating a big product. That's why it's called a personal product. But the product is not the be-all and end-all. The way students investigate, write about it, reflect is the most important part. Then we have interdisciplinary learning. Each grade level has one unit where they have a joint venture, you could call it, between 2 different subjects. So for example, in grade 6, humanities works with English. In grade 9, arts works with English. Grade 8, maths works with design. And the unit is planned together, and there's a lot of linkage between the 2 subjects during the course of that unit, which is obviously very much woven into the fabric of the MYP. Right, I alluded to briefly about ATL skills. Approaches to learning skills is part of the entire IB from EY1 up to grade 12. What are they? Basically, it's a long list of skills, approximately 134 skills, depending on how you interpret the document, and divided into 5 categories, which are those. They are an integral part of all MYP units. Okay, so all IB levels, in other words, PYP, MYP, and DP, have the 10 aspects of the learner profile, as you will all know by now. The PYP and the DP and MYP have these 5 categories. However, unique to the MYP are these 10 cluster areas. So communication, collaboration, organization, affective skills, reflection, etc., etc. And basically we try and ensure that these are part of the units of study, and not only units of study, but students are thinking about them outside of class as well. I could go into a lot more detail, and I shall in September if you come for the Parents as Partners presentations. At the moment, just know they exist. In the students' planners in grade 6, there will be a page which contains what we call the core ATL skills, managing time, things like that, listening, staying on task, and then specific reference to the actual skills on the master sheets. And then students will have an opportunity to reflect on how they think they've performed in those particular skills at various stages. Okay, so just a quick snapshot of what it looks like in your curriculum guides that you'll be getting. So each subject is broken down in terms of a summary of what happens in the year, and then a unit which consists of a statement of inquiry, global context, key concept, related concepts, assessment criteria, and ATL skills, followed by some of the learning experiences. So let me just quickly go back to this. I certainly don't expect you to be experts at all of these terminologies at the moment. However, this is the type of thing that your child will be coming across at the start of grade 6. But it's all very well listening to me. It might be better if you hear this from the experts.
Guys, Mr. Vaughn is giving us 30 minutes to come up with a script for the grade 5 transition day. If we don't come up with something soon, we are toast.
It's been a great experience so far, but we have had some difficulties.
Wait, do we have any English homework due tomorrow?
Check ManageBack. ManageBack, remember it? It's where we check all our grades, assessments, homework, and messages.
So does anyone have any ideas? We could talk about our strengths and difficulties, the subjects, anything really.
I have an idea. In Arabic A for the native speakers. خلال أول مرحلة لدينا في مادة اللغة العربية في الصف السادس نتعلم عن كيفية القراءة بشكل صحيح ومطلق وكيفية الأداء المسرحي أثناء النشاطات الصفية. من أهدافنا في الصف السادس هو أن نتعلم كيف يمكننا أن نحقق أهدافنا في الحياة ونكون سبباً في تطوير مجتمعنا الذي يضم أناس من كل أنحاء العالم والذين يجتمعون في مدرستنا لنتمكن من الالتقاء والتعلم منهم. من أكثر الأشياء المهمة لدينا في الصف السادس هو الامتياز بملامح المتعلم.
مرحبا، السلام عليكم. اسمي محمد. أنا في الطالب الراحة. These are some basic vocabulary and introduction I memorized and learned how to say the previous year. It was nothing compared to what I faced when entering Arabic B phase 2. Contrasting to phase 1, people in phase 2 must write more and they have much more advanced vocabulary. In class, we do worksheets and practice tests to prepare us for our actual exams.
Students who do not take Islamic A can take either French or Spanish. Coming into grade 6, bonjour was pretty much the only French word I knew, but now I know how to describe myself and even how to talk about my family. We began the year by learning simple vocabulary and basic greetings that we could use in a standard conversation. Then we moved on to learn about how to talk about our hobbies and express our likes and dislikes. In our third unit, we focused on learning how to describe ourselves, our family, and even some of our pets. Now, in our fourth unit, we are learning different vocabulary related to different places in French. Overall, French class has been an amazing way for me to learn about a new culture, a new language, and I have really enjoyed it all throughout the year.
I chose Spanish because it would be a fun language to learn, and as I expected, Spanish was a fun subject to learn. In Spanish, we do a lot of different activities like live quizzes, and we do paperwork and assessments like the writing exam and the oral exam. There are 4 units in Spanish. We started by learning how to describe and introduce ourselves, and we learned vocabularies about school equipment. Then we learned more about school, like the subjects, and we learned how to describe our family. And in our last unit, we're learning how to describe our house and the names of the countries in Spanish.
What else can we talk about apart from languages?
Math is pretty important.
Yeah, no kidding.
I thought math class was going to be really boring, like sitting at a desk alone in absolute silence doing many worksheets. But it was completely different. We got to sit with our friends, if we weren't misbehaving or shouting, of course, socialize and work together on some worksheets we were given. In math, we go through the 4 different assessments, criterion A, B, C, and D, and we go through 5 different math topics throughout the year. Each simple if you put in the effort to study and understand. Now we're doing our last math topic, decimals, fractions, and percentages. So far, I really like math and it's been a good learning experience.
What about design? Oh, in design there are 2 separate design classes, DT and IT. IT is where you get to create your own educational game. The app is called Scratch. You can choose your own theme like science, math, English, geography, anything really. While DT, students are learning the process of making a desk organized. It's so cool how we can create something that we like and can be creative with.
At the start of the year, I was a bit nervous about science because I was afraid that maybe I would touch something and there would be a huge accident in the lab and it would all be my fault. But thankfully this did not happen, and science actually turned out to be a very entertaining subject. At the beginning of the year, in our first 2 units, we learned about the scientific method, we learned about how to conduct experiments, and measure results. In our 3rd unit, we focused on learning about the negative effects that single-use plastic has on our environment, and we made efforts to reduce this type of plastic in our school community. Now, in our 4th unit, we're learning about different types of forces on Earth and how they affect both us and different objects. Overall, science has been an amazing class for me, and I have really enjoyed it.
And at Raha, we are extremely proud of our arts program. We're actually putting together a play, Benrix Her, that you guys should come see.
As we all know, there is a variety of ways in showing arts, whether it was in drama, music, or just literally visual arts. Though each of these subjects have criteria that we as 6th graders get to be assessed on. Each class gets to switch to another subject every 12 weeks. For example, in term 1, I was in music, where I got to work in a group learning of ways to express music using body percussions, patterns, and simple objects. In term 2, I started visual arts, where our main goal was to show our understanding of texture and creating a 3D ceramic piece of art. And in term 3, I'm currently working with drama, where we get to expand our knowledge of performance during the time we spend on class activities and presentations. Don't forget that since classes get to change subjects every 12 weeks, that means we get to ask our friends who are already assessed for ways to improve.
Oh, PE. When we started PE, I was really excited. I thought we would just be playing games for a whole 90 minutes twice a week, but it was a bit different. Just like in the PYP, we have our different PE units. While we have fun playing games, we must do written and physical assessments for grades. For example, during our swimming unit, our assessment was to create a swimming plan to improve our speed in a certain style of swimming. We were graded on how effective our plan was and the outcome.
And in English, we learned so many things in English. In our first assessment, we learned about biographies and autobiographies, which I'm pretty glad we did because I learned a lot about Helen Keller just by reading her autobiography. And later in the year, we learned about point evidence explanation, which was pretty useful as our 2nd and 3rd assessments were both essays.
In individuals and societies, otherwise known as humanities, we learned about many things such as the name John Smith, about various cultures, civilizations, and our own personal family history. We learn about the long-lasting Romans to the coordinates on a map, about the numerous types of geography, and we have fun doing it in an engaging and accepting environment.
So I guess that's everything?
Wait, what do we have next?
Oh, can someone check Manage back?
Guys, we have an English essay in 3 minutes.
Hi. Will you change the slide? Am I supposed to change the slide, do you think? I think the grade 6 students are a bit more organized than we are. My name's Blair Hoover. I am currently one of the heads of grade 6 this year, and I am going to be also head of grade 6 next year.
I'm Scott Hunter. This is my first year as head of grade. I'm currently an MYP PE teacher, and this is my 2nd year at Raha.
Yeah, so together we will be managing the pastoral care of your students as they come up into the MYP. And there's a quick explanation of what pastoral care means, but it's basically making sure your kids are okay while they're at school. This is just an overview of what we're going to talk about.
So the first thing we're going to go into is teachers and subjects. It's obviously very, very different from the PYP. There's going to be lots of different teachers teaching your children in discrete subjects rather than one person teaching all of the different subjects. Also, with this, there are now study halls where your child will have a chance to do some work that they wouldn't be able to have a chance to do at home. That'll be about 3 times a week with their own teacher supervising them at that point. They'll also have an advisory teacher where they'll meet that person every morning for attendance and 1 tutorial with them a week just to catch up and do some positive education stuff. They are your main point of contact for your child. This is an example of what an MYP timetable looks like for a grade 6. It's very, very different from a grade 5 timetable. As you see, Miss Blair managed to colour code it, so you can see how often they get subjects each week. There's also a few study halls fitted in there, and if you look Sunday period 4, there's the tutorial time with their advisory teacher.
A little bit about homework. I think this is something that kids are often quite worried about. You see in the background an example of one of our planners. I believe that the grade 5 students have started using them this year. We had some extras from MYP, so it should be a familiar format. We are encouraging students to write down their homework in their planner. We do have ManageBack. ManageBack has assessments in it, and it has deadlines in it, but many of the formative assessments aren't put in ManageBack because it becomes very cluttered. Sometimes they're there if they need to be turned in online, but not always. So we encourage students to write in their planner, and especially to make an action plan. You may be familiar with the format of the planner where there's a place to put deadlines at the top, and at the bottom there's a place to plan what day they're going to do that. This is especially important because they don't have every subject every day. So if they have homework that was assigned today, it may not be due for 2 or 3 days in advance, so they need to plan their time. I also want to point out that homework can be heavy or light depending on the day and also depending on the student. Some students will take an assignment and spend an hour on it, where another student will take the same assignment and only spend 10 minutes. That's not always a bad thing, but it's important that we encourage our students to develop balance so that they're not overworking themselves and they're also not slacking off. We don't want them to be on either extreme.
Next, assessments. This is where we speak to our students quite a lot and they speak to us a lot about. Deadlines are communicated in ManageBack, so if you ever need to check on what your child has to do for certain subjects, all of the deadlines are communicated in ManageBack for you to see. Formative and summative assessments will be discussed in class, so we'll talk to the student about what they have to do, what is expected of them, give them examples, give them the rubric. All of that will be communicated in class. However, for all that most assessments are completed in class, some of them are due to be turned in outside of class. There will be a deadline set on ManageBack. So for example, in PE, we get students to submit like their swimming plan for the start of the class on a Tuesday. We walk into class, I check on ManageBack to see who's not submitted it. It works like that. There won't always be time in class to submit it. So that will be communicated with the students. Just make sure you keep on top of that and checking in with them. They should take control of their own learning. They should know when their assessments are due. It's your job just to check in with them and guide them through that.
Technology. This is one we've been working on a lot in the past year. And so you may have heard that it's a good idea for you to go ahead and have a laptop for your child in grade 5 so that they can get used to using it and they can feel comfortable using it before they get to grade 6. So that's something we've been working on a lot. ManageBack is a new piece of software. You heard the kids talk about it a lot. You've heard Mr. Scott and myself already mention it. It is a very important tool that we use, and your students will begin being trained on that at the beginning of the year. There will be many of their assessments will be submitted on ManageBack, not all, but many of them will be turned in through that software. And students will also be using Office 365. Mr. Richard has notified me that with the students' Raha accounts, they can now download the Office 365 apps onto their laptops as of now. So I don't know exactly how that works. Do you want to say something about that, Vaughn? Mm. Okay, excellent. So they register with their school email address and they can download for free Microsoft Word and Microsoft PowerPoint and all of the Microsoft Office suite. If they do that now, they will come into grade 6 with more confidence, at least having the software on their computer. It will take a lot of confusion out of the way for them. Also, we have been working tirelessly this year to get our grade 6 students to save their work on OneDrive. OneDrive is a cloud storage system, so if their laptop breaks, or if it runs out of charge, or if they lose it, that their work is not lost. This is much, much better than saving it on their desktop, and it means that we can then go into any computer. I can even have the student log into their account on my computer and find their files if there's some problem with their computer. So getting them to create folders and save their work on OneDrive is a big push in grade 6 because we want to set the students up to be well organized throughout MYP.
Okay, so steps for success and what the students should have to do now. Stay organised. Students should check on ManageBack and their emails every night. Checking ManageBack is very important, but we've just added in this email thing because they would often come into class and say, I emailed you, and why didn't you get back to me? And then we'll say, we did email you back, oh sorry, I've not checked. Checking emails is a massive thing for grade 6. They have to start getting into the habit of doing that. So they should be into the habit of checking ManageBack and emails every night if you could try and stay on top of that and just checking in with them. Did you check ManageBack? Did you check your emails? Their organisational skills will go through the roof very, very early. Ask questions and take initiative. Obviously, they're going to be really nervous coming up. Just ask questions. We're always here to help. They can ask you, they can ask us, and take initiative for their own learning as well. Be aware that their timetable and subjects, they change on a day-to-day basis. So pack book bags, charger and PE kit the night before school. Their timetables, as you've seen before, they're different every day. So you don't want to be logging about big books for subjects that you don't have on that day. So just make sure the night before when they're checking ManageBack, they're checking their emails, they pack their book bag and they're ready for the next day. And make sure laptops are fully charged. That is a massive pet peeve in the MYP when they come in and go, oh, my laptop isn't charged, I'm sorry. And you need to try and figure it out. Yeah?
One of the parents last year suggested that you set up a charging station at home with the timetable posted on the wall so that the student at night can plug in their laptop before they go to bed, check what subjects they have the next day, pack their PE kit or whatever books they need for that day. So if you have one place at home to do this, it can help your student be more successful.
Get excited. The MYP will be a new and rewarding experience. For all it's a massive difference and it's a huge change and it can be quite daunting, it's really, really good fun and they should be excited about it. I remember when I was moving up to high school, it was really daunting, but it's one of the best days of your life, so they should really start getting excited about it. So students need your guidance to develop independence and personal responsibility. We see totally different types of students coming in. Some parents drill them into checking ManageBack and kind of do it all for them, and other parents just kind of leave them to their own devices. There needs to be a mix between that. So as parents, you should be helping guide your student to take responsibility for their own learning, try not to do it all for them, and try not just to leave them to their own devices. So that is kind of your main job, is just to help guide them, asking them questions. Did you check ManageBack? Did you check emails? Rather than going, I checked your ManageBack and I checked your emails. But yeah, that's pretty much your main job.
And I just wanted to add in a little bit about development because, as we know, students going in through middle school are going through some of the hardest times of their lives. It's a big transition for them as well, physically and emotionally and socially. There's that button. Yeah. Okay, so middle school is hard for everyone. It's hard on teachers, it's hard on parents, and it's hard on students. So we need to remember that we're all in it together. The main thing that you will notice with your kids coming into grade 6 is that their social dynamics are changing, and that can create problems, but they tend to be slightly different for boys and for girls. Girls tend to have a lot of social issues. The word we use for this in grade 6 is drama. because they are worried about who is friends with who, and those groups will change over the course of grade 6. They may have one group at the beginning, and by the end of grade 6, they may be friends with a completely different group of friends, and you will know all about it, and so will we. So just keep in mind, if you have a daughter, you may find that she has a lot of conflicts or difficulties with her friend groups, and that is perfectly normal developmentally, but it's hard. This is something that will get better over time. It definitely tends to ease off around the middle of grade 7. The girls tend to get a little bit more confident in their friend groups and have a bit less issues with that. With little boys, the way that they reflect the social dynamics changing is they're always trying to perform to show that they belong. And this comes out as a lot of very silly behavioral issues. So you might find that your son that seemed so mature in grade 5, in grade 6 and 7 and 8 may start to seem more playful, getting into a lot of really silly sort of issues. And this is a performative way of trying to show that he belongs. This is all about trying to fit in for both the boys and girls. It just manifests in slightly different ways. Please remember that even as your child is trying to be independent, they still need you. But they need you, as Scott said before, as a guide to help them develop that independence. They're just testing out, and they need to build the skills to be successfully independent. And of course, we are here for you as pastoral support. In grades 6, 7, and 8, you will find your head of grades. You may have a lot of contact with us dealing with some of these interpersonal issues. And also, you together with us and the teachers all together, we can help the students develop resilience, because there will be times that are rough. There will be difficult emotional things. There will be difficult academic things. And if we can help the students to remember that they can recover and move on from that and grow from that, then we will have done a successful job.
Okay, so this is just a little thing to show what's coming up now, the transition from middle years to primary years. What can you expect within the next few months? So we've set up a lot of events in the coming months just to try and ease in the transition for you and for them. We've obviously got today, grade 5 parents MYP transition. In June, you got a grade 5 question and answer session with current grade 6 students and grade 5 shadow days in MYP. Last year it was only one shadow day. This year we've managed to have 2 full days where the grade 5s will come up into MYP and do different things to let them see what it's like being a grade 6 student. And then following that in September, when everyone comes back, we'll have the grade 6 orientation day. And we'll have parents as partners weekly morning sessions videoed during September and October for interested MYP parents. Dates will be communicated in September. So all of them will be in the mornings. Hopefully you can come in and just learn a little bit more about what the 6s are doing and how you can assist them in their transition. And then this is for the students. First semester, manage back tutorials and IT skills practice with teachers. This is quite important when a lot of them are going to get brand new laptops, moving away from the iPads. So it's how can they use that to their best ability, using Microsoft Word, Excel, PowerPoints for their assessments and in-class use. Advisory teachers and morning advisories and weekly tutorials. Their advisory teacher will probably be their favourite teacher. That's the person they see every morning to take their attendance. That's their guide through MYP of that year. And they also do the tutorials with them. So they'll be there to help them with any problems. If they're struggling with a certain subject, you can always tell your student, go speak to your advisory teacher. I've been doing it as part of grade 6 for the past 2 years. It's an excellent job. You get to know the kids really, really well, and they get to know the teacher really well. Peer mentoring and mindfulness programs, workshops on library resources, skills and uses, and OSRA team activities and challenges. For those that are new at RAHA, the OSRA system is a house system that your students will fall part of, and there's fun challenges throughout the year. Points get added up. It's really, really awesome.
We also have a lot of support systems available in the MYP that may be different from what you had in PYP. In academic areas, we have study halls throughout the week. Depending on what subjects your students are taking, they may have more or less study halls, but there will be several times where they have supervised time to get their work done. We are working on a curriculum during the first month of study hall to make sure the students are learning to use that time wisely. We also have, go back. Yeah. We also have homework club and some after-school ECPs that will help students get extra help. We have something called Center for Excellence, where grade 10 students will tutor grade 6, 7, and 8 students in subjects. This is an excellent way for them to build relationships with older students and also work on their academic skills. And if for some reason there's a technology issue where your child's computer is not able to come to school for a day, or if it bombs out for some reason during that day, we do have netbooks in the library that can be borrowed, so students can still do their work in class if they need a laptop for that. We have social supports, which Scott mentioned slightly. We have something called Positive at Raha, which is a banner that covers many different positive initiatives we have for well-being at school. And that includes our mindfulness program, that includes our ASRA program, that includes, we're doing some stuff with moral education as well. So all these initiatives that we take to make sure that school is fun and a positive learning environment for your kids. We also have many ECPs that are not just academic, they're also for other fun activities. And we have these peer mentoring programs that students get referred into for social or even academic issues. Our counselor will pair up an older student with a younger student to help build a positive social relationship. And we have, for personal and emotional development, of course, Scott and I are here, as we said before, as pastoral heads. We also have the advisory teacher that will meet with your individual student within a class of about 25. So the advisory teacher will see your kid every day and will get to know them really well. The advisory teachers work with us. We are a team with them, and we are there as backup for them in case there's higher needs for a student. We can fit in and help with that. We also have an excellent counseling program and a program that counselors do. They come in once a week to every class and they do mindfulness practice, teaching the students to be in the present moment and not obsessing about the past or about the future, to help them calm their minds and be focused for school. Mindfulness is a strategy that has a lot of scientific evidence behind it to help students perform well in school.
Okay, so who are the main points of contact? This is very different from PYP, where your son or daughter has got one teacher, and if there's anything wrong or if you need their help, if you need their advice, you just email that one teacher. As we spoke about before, your child's going to have numerous different teachers throughout their MYP journey, so this is just to give you advice on who to contact. Advisory teacher, that is your first point of contact with day-to-day issues and questions. Now, as I said before, the advisory teacher sees your child every day. They are like their school mum or dad. They help them with everything they need. They should be your first point of contact about anything. So if they've forgotten their PE kit, email the advisory teacher and then email the normal teacher. The advisory teacher should probably be CC'd in every email that you send to the school, just so they can keep track. Even if it's got something to do with they've not done their maths homework, as an advisory teacher, I could check in and be like, did you manage to get that done? I know the kids better now, and they know that I have an active input in their Raha journey. Next, subject teachers and heads of faculty. This question is about specific subjects and assessments. As I said before, just CC in the advisory teacher. But if there's something, maybe there's an assessment you want to discuss or homework that you want to discuss or anything like that, email the subject teacher directly and they'll get back to you. If you want, if it's a pastoral issue, you can also CC in the head of faculty, but it should just be the subject teacher. And finally, as to the heads of grade, we are here to help out with anything you need. If you're sending us an email, if it's something that you think the advisory teacher should know about, obviously CC them in. We are here to help with anything that you need. Our email addresses are up on the board. There's no split between us. Doesn't matter who you email, we'll talk to each other anyway. So you can send it to the both of us or one of us, either or. It's going to come to the both of us anyway. That's it. Is there any questions for myself or Miss Blair?
Or Mr. Vaughn.
Or
He's
Mr.
still
Vaughn.
Here. He's hiding. Be still. Yes, ma'am. I believe we have managed back sessions. Sarah, do we have managed back sessions for parents? We don't. Yeah. Okay. So that's something that we're hoping to put in place, because that has come up this year.
Sorry. For our current parents, you already have a managed back account. That's where we used to issue our school reports, I think, not last year, the year before. If you try and log in, you maybe just need to do forgot password, and it will reset your account for you. What you will see in there is I've not done anything with the students for the last year and a half, simply because we've not used it. From the summer, I will be moving our students up into grade 6, and that's when you'll start to see their classes assigned. For our new parents, over the summer, from June, you will get a welcome pack. That will include all the links that you'll need. That will include our parent portal ISAMS account and how to register. That will also include your managed back details. Any other questions on IT?
Sorry, can I introduce, that is Sarah. She is the
database administrator.
That's the one.
So I do all your reset of your accounts, so please feel free to contact me. If you have any questions, I'll just be sat here and I can... Yes, of course. 365, yes. Yes. Yeah, just Google Office 365 and you can try and register. What I'll do is I'll contact our homeroom teachers with some passwords for the students that they can bring home. Because our students already have emails that they're using for Seesaw. All right, perfect. Yeah, so for new students, they'll be given that on the first week and they'll register themselves. No. Yeah, wait until the first week for that one. Yeah. Hi. No. What we'll do is we'll probably add in, Mr. Richards, our head of technology. He has some suggestions, I think, so we can add in
Sarah,
at the end of your...
I talked to Mr. Richard about this quite a lot last year, and the most common laptop in use at Raha is a MacBook. Any version of MacBook is fine. It doesn't have to be the super high advanced edition. So if your student has a MacBook, then there will be lots of other students with the same computer as them. It makes it a little bit easier for the kids because they can get peer support. However, any laptop is acceptable as long as the laptop is able to run Office 365, as long as it's updated, it's not a super old one from 10 years ago, it's probably going to be fine. So you don't have to have a MacBook, but that is the most common, and it seems to make things a little bit easier for the kids because many of their peers also have that one. Currently, we do not have the capacity for Arabic A students to also take a foreign language. It has to do with the way the scheduling works out. It's something that we've been looking into, but I don't think it's currently possible.
I'm pushing very hard to try and get it in place for the following year, but it's certainly not possible for next year's timetable. What we have got in place for the first time next year is Arabic A students who are non-Islamic students. There's such a small number of them that we can cater for them to do French or Spanish as well. But unfortunately, at the moment, it's just not feasible for I'm hoping so, but at the moment, it's probably less than 50-50, but leave it with me. I'm trying.
Okay, ISAMS doesn't have your curriculum data. ISAMS is primarily attendance, whereas your curriculum information will be in ManageBack, and it will not be set up until the classes are set. Oh, the curriculum handbook. I'm sorry, I misunderstood.
The curriculum handbook is currently just in the ISAMS parent portal. When we send out the welcome email, you'll be able to access that then. So she's hoping to do it the first week in June. Okay. If you would like me to take your email address, I can send it you today. Okay.
Well, Sarah, I'm going to send an email to everyone with the presentation as well as any other bits and pieces. So just add that on.
We'll add down.
Anything else? Yeah.
I can speak about that. Actually, I'm American, so I've taught American curriculum. What you will find is grade 6 is the perfect time to make this transition, because many of the subjects, like I'm a science teacher, the students haven't taken science as a discrete subject in elementary school, and that's usually the case also in the American curriculum. So grade 6 is the perfect time to transition. I find the students transition pretty well from one curriculum to another. Parents have a harder time because the way that we assess is so different. The students every day, they're learning the language of the IB when they're with us. But for parents, it's a little bit harder. So I would encourage you to read through the curriculum document, but remember that in the MYP, our focus is on skill building. It is not on content. So the American curriculum or the British curriculum focus very much on what kids are learning as far as content. Whereas in MYP, we are focusing on the skills they are using. So they learn a lot less information, but they build much stronger skills. And there is data that backs up that the students who go through the MYP curriculum perform better on their assessments when they get to the DP than students that have done an American or a British curriculum before. So it's evidence-based. We know that building skills is what's best for the students, but it is an adjustment if you're coming from another curriculum.
Anything else?
We do quite a lot of external standardized testing, map testing, TIMS, PISA. Well, PISA's only once every 4 years. That's all run by Mr. Nick, who's the head of school improvement. They're currently doing map testing in the PYP, and they have recently done map testing, chem tests as well. Yes, there's a whole bunch of standardized tests that we do have to do, largely due to Ministry of Education requirements, but also it is useful for the students to then have an external benchmark, international benchmark, I should say.
Cool. Yep. Go for it.
Just wondering normally when the kids get their schedule and their OSRA house, like when they find out that information.
OSRA house is going to be
orientation. They
Yeah.
should get that information at orientation. I'm not sure if it'll be finalized before that, but at orientation, that's when they will get all of that information.
Yeah, the OSRA house, that's something that I'm quite strong about. I'm an OSRA leader this year. The PE kits will be slightly different from PYP to MYP because they'll be in an OSRA house which will have their designated colour just on the side bit down there. It's not mandatory that you have to buy that one, just so you know. If you want to be ahead of the game, just buy a plain white one from Saks if you're going to get a new one. But if you want them to be part of the OSRA PE uniform, you can wait until they get their timetable when they find out what OSRA house they're in, and then you can buy it from then on. We give them the full first week in PE when they come back that they don't have to bring their kit, just so everyone can get organised, and then the second week in they can.
Yeah.
So
also,
first week
if
back.
you have an older student that's already in an OSRA, the younger student should be the same color. So if you have a purple or a red already, then the next younger one should be the same.
Yeah.
Can I just quickly mention, just crossing my mind, I'm sure most of you know that Raha's achievement in terms of rated outstanding, et cetera, twice in a row, doesn't really affect us at all. It's a nice thing to have. We are more interested in the fact that Raha is a happy school, a happy place. It has been for many years. It's a very, very busy institution, establishment. But one of the things that makes it a happy place is the OSRA experience that students have in the secondary. So I would make sure you just talk about it with them. Try and get them as involved as possible in the many activities that happen. So yeah, that is really our focus. It's not to get that outstanding banner, even though it's nice to have. That's not why we're here.
Anything else?
Well, thank you guys for coming. We will see you again at orientation, hopefully, and there will be a lot more details then. We know we gave you lots of information today, but as Mr. Vaughn said, he will be emailing you more information, and please feel free to contact any of us or the school if you have any further questions.
Thank you.